Hey folks, Scott here. Today we're going to be looking at Stigmatized Drummer, which bills itself as the quote ultimate extreme drumming studio. Well, knowing a thing or two about drumming libraries, let's go ahead and just see about that, hey? But first, how about we jam to the demo track that I came up with using this drum library? So this library comes from Stigmatized Productions, and they are from Greece. The text here is in-depth and makes the library sound quite impressive, actually. Although it's intended as a metal library, it notes down here that you could use it for rock and pop in theory. We do get a raw version of all the samples, that's probably why they write that. That's pretty cool, actually, because the only other library that I know of that gives you completely raw samples to work with is Superior Drummer 2, and most people probably are tired of hearing Superior Drummer 2 everywhere. So we've got a bunch of helpful information, instructions, pages here to, how to install it, the specs you need, videos, even a tour, audio demos. So all this should be explored when you pick up the product, and that's really a good sign that there's, so much documentation for people to properly install the product and such. It's always good when a company goes the extra mile to make it easier for you to use their product. Quickly, however, I did want to point out that you will need a full version of Kontakt 5. The free player will not work with this library. As well, you'll need at least 4 gigabytes of RAM, so be sure you're aware of this before you pick up this product because, it's a digital product, so that means no refunds. So here it is in SONAR, and man, we got a lot to talk about. As complex as all this may look right now, it's actually simple and it's laid out quite logically. The idea behind this product is that it's meant to be used, by people who really don't know a lot about DAWs or internal routing, or just basically want to load up some drums, load up some MIDI grooves, record their ideas, and call it good. This product is aimed at that particular person. Speaking of the MIDI grooves, before you even load this up, you're going to have to manually move the MIDI files, the folder that they are stored in, from the Stigmatized location to the Kontakt 5 folder in your My Documents area. One extra thing I did was also move the fills folder into the metal subsection, and after that the MIDI grooves will show up like you can see them now on my screen. In my opinion, the MIDI grooves portion of this product is absolutely worth the price of admission by itself. The guy actually programmed pretty much every metal groove, beat, blast beat, fill, anything that you would find in the metal and technical death metal, black metal genre, he has actually created a MIDI groove for. You can demo all these grooves by just, clicking on the one that you want right here, for example, pressing play. After that, you can just double click and it'll automatically change from there. When you find the beat that you want, just click from here and drag it into the track pane and boom, done. As I scroll through here, you are going to see an abundance of MIDI grooves to choose from. For those out there that suck at programming drums or just don't want to do it, this will save you untold amounts of time. What's more actually is you can find a groove that you like, edit it a little bit to fit the riff that you have, and it's just that simple. It's just a piece of cake. Another thing they've done here is to put recommendations into the file names, for example, the BPM. I would recommend to take these BPM ranges pretty seriously. Some of the grooves sound more or less retarded outside of the BPM range. But I mean, you can mix and match some of the beats into various other BPMs, but you kind of need to know that. Like, oh, okay, this skank beat would technically work at this BPM, and it's kind of what I'm going for, so we can use that. Otherwise, stick to the BPMs listed in the folders. If you look down here, these buttons change how the groove works. For example, you can introduce a swing pattern or determine how the notes will react to a grid. I personally never touch this, but you might find it useful. This knob here adjusts the velocity settings of the MIDI grooves. I found that just leaving this here like this, default gave me the best results. You can adjust it how you want, of course. It's your drums. And then obviously this is the tempo control, self-explanatory, I think. Anyway, there are various grooves for different genres listed here. I personally did not go through them, but considering the quality of the metal MIDI grooves, I'm sure that these are just as well written. After that, we have the Options tab. Now, here we can drag our velocity curve and the range of our velocity. To be honest, I did not touch any of this, and I don't see personally where it would be useful for me. Below, we have the MIDI mapping. Now, if you click on the preset area here, they've already taken care of the 5 most popular drum mappings, which is absolutely killer. So, less work for you. If for some reason you want to make your own map or change a note or anything like that, you can do that and set it as a new preset. Very cool. Next up we have is the Kit tab. Now we can see the glorious Stigmatized drum kit itself. All custom graphics. Pretty sweet. We've got a couple knobs at the bottom where we can customize the sound a bit further. But I found that I don't really need to touch these at all, actually. And at this point, I actually do want to touch how the MIDI is written for this instrument because it is unique. So every drum has been sampled multiple times, but gets triggered by 2 separate notes based on, a left and a right hand, left foot, right foot. For example, when doing a kick roll, you'll alternate between these 2 keys here. Snare is the same, but obviously they're 2 different notes, but it's the same concept. And then we have all the toms, which are here, all with the same concept. A different note for the right hand, a different note for the left hand. So basically your kick is green, your snare here is yellow, and the toms are blue. Oh, and the side stick here, it's dark red. If you ever need a side stick for some atmospheric black metal, there you go. The cymbals here are also blue, and don't forget that these dark blue keys down here are actually the hi-hat articulations. Other than that, we get, 3 crash cymbals, a ride, China, the hi-hat obviously. But no splash cymbals with this one, which kind of sucks, but I mean, it's not really a cymbal that would get used a lot, I suppose, in the faster black death metal bands. That pretty much covers the kit page, so your cymbals, your toms, and how they work with the MIDI notes. Onto the mixer. Yeah, buddy. So this page is really for those who want to do everything within the Kontakt sampler itself. I would personally recommend to do a multi-out configuration and process everything within your DAW after you bounce out the stems, but everyone does their own thing, so that's fine. With that said, however, everything you need to process drums are actually right here. You have a transient designer, tape saturation even, compression, EQ, and honestly, these are like the 4 most basic bedrock moves that would be used in metal drum production anyway, so you have everything you need right here. So you just click on the power button here and then go to processing everything that you would want to process. You can do your own thing, save some presets, yada yada yada. Oh, do keep in mind that you need to click this button here where it says channel 9 through 16 so you can go to the next page and see the rest of the kit. One cool thing that was done was that the cymbals were disconnected from the overheads. This can be a good or bad thing, depending on your point of view, but in this case of metal where you really like to have control over every aspect of the kit, it's a good thing. What this does in this case is you can still process a room track without having to deal with the nasty high-end harshness that often happens when you're dealing with overheads. So that's why I say it's a good thing. At the end of the mixer, you'll see bleed and comp control. Bleed is self-explanatory, comp, parallel compression. So you pretty much have 100% control over everything with this drum library. Now, if that was the entire instrument right there, that'd be pretty amazing by itself. But if you click on the Matrix tab, you can literally control every level of every microphone or setting in the instrument individually. Now, going beyond the actual instrument itself, I didn't even talk about the graphics or anything yet, so in short, I like them a lot. They fit the instrument. A lot of time and effort and care was taken into making it look cool. I'm glad the effort was put in, but I'm more glad that the instrument itself is awesome. So, awesome instrument, awesome graphics, awesome all around. So with the overview out of the way, let's talk a little bit more in depth how I made the demo recording. To be quite honest with you, I kept this one pretty bare. I did not do a whole ton of processing. I didn't even bounce these tracks out or put a gate on the toms like I normally would or anything like that. One thing I did want to point out, really quickly is that all these all these drum lines that you see here are completely from the MIDI grooves included with this instrument. I didn't write or edit a single note of any of this. So when you buy this, you can get these exact same grooves. Processing wise, I did very little to the drums themselves. In some cases, just a little bit of an SSL channel strip, as you can see here. Bass, my usual split processing. Guitars are also the usual, except that I just decided to double track this time because of time constraints. I'm using the U530 from Mercurial. Many of you know who follow my channel. This is a personal favorite of mine. One thing I would like to mention is that I'm using a clipper a lot instead of doing a lot of limiting on the drums. And this drum library responds pretty well to clipping, so I'd recommend that if you have a clipper. For my overall opinion, like I said earlier, this thing is worth the price of admission just for the huge library of MIDI grooves that you're going to get. These are the grooves you wish you'd get with Addictive Drums or Easy Drummer, in all honesty. They are programmed well and in a realistic manner, and if you need to change it a tad, just change it, and it's gonna get you 80% of the way there for sure. Maybe the only thing that I would say is when you are using, for example, one MIDI groove consecutively, a lot of times you're going to want to change the velocity of those MIDI grooves because the round robin cycle will be painfully obvious, and then it'll definitely sound like a crappy loop. But that is avoided if you just change the velocity settings a little bit after copying and pasting the MIDI groove in one after another. I do like the idea of having a separate note for the right and left hand. It takes the realism a bit further and, a little bit of a novel concept, but I embrace it. I like it. At the end of the day, this is incredibly affordable and, honestly speaking, if you're one of those lazy metal guitar players who just wants to import some sick blast beats or something because you don't want to program drums or learn how to do it, basically this is the instrument and the product that you need to get your ideas out. So that does it for this review. Thanks a lot for checking it out, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.